Okay. I want to call the meeting to order. It's 5:30. Just so everybody knows, we're going to try and be very efficient in this meeting. I'd like it to last between a half an hour to 45 minutes, as this camera may have an alternate duty it has to do. So did everyone have an opportunity to read through the minutes?
Yes. Give me one moment while I pull them up. I have them on the screen before we can approve them. And I've just been kicked out of the meeting.
The people who can vote on this are Connie, Linda, and Sue Morton. So if you have all,
You can vote.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Tia, can you vote?
I can't understand what you just said.
Tia, can you vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I was the chair the last time, so I really can't, no, but that's fine.
I'm sorry, just give me one moment. I don't know why I got kicked off.
Yeah, but did everybody look at the minutes? If you've looked at the minutes, we don't need to project it up, do we?
No, I do have to. You cannot vote on anything that is not visible for anyone watching to see.
Here, you want to just do this?
No, because I have to be able to present everything this evening.
Okay.
So you just have to bear with me while I
Sorry.
log in.
And I apologize for not being there in person. I've been sick all day, so I did not want to spread my disease.
Okay, it's loading right now. I can update the minutes.
Mary, do you have to go into work every day now?
So, so is it projected, Megan?
No. Okay. There might be feedback for a minute while I mute everything.
Okay, so share screen.
Okay, we have the minutes of the previous meeting.
Can I have a motion to accept the minutes from the Thursday, November 19th, 2020 meeting, Finance Committee meeting? Sue Morton
Made a motion?
I'll second it.
and Linda seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
And Mary, you abstain? Oh, Mary can't vote. I abstain.
No, I don't vote.
I'm sorry, I abstain.
Okay.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is, hold on, I got to get back to the agenda now. Is the reviewing consideration of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2022-23. I hope everybody had an opportunity to review that. Megan spent a lot of time putting it together and nicely put together a summary for us, taking us through in a Word doc what all the different elements are and how the budget has come in. Megan, may I ask you to go through that, please?
Okay, well, I mean, what you see written is really step by step how I built the budget. So from the previous year, we had 2 vacant positions. We left those 2 positions vacant so we could keep a flat budget last year. However, this year, now that COVID is ending, or we're getting back to some kind of normal post-COVID, we'd like to fill those positions so that way we can go back to offering the services we were offering prior. So we're asking for a 2.5% increase to salaries. That would equate to a 2.25% salary increase for staff. The contract for next year has not been established yet in the way of salary increases for union employees. I reached out to Brad at Finance to find out what other contracts percentage increases were for next year, and currently there's only one contract in town that has a set salary increase for next year, and it's just below 2.25%, but it's also the last year of that contract, and typically each continuing year of a contract, it decreases. So there is potential that that salary increase could be higher than 2.25, but we're guesstimating at that number. Then equipment, we are keeping the same. Oh, sorry, supplies, let's get one. So supplies, I increased by $240, really just to cover cleaning costs, because I don't foresee that going away in the next year. I think that's something we're going to continue to do. We are continuing to provide masks to this public who request them. So, and also too is paper is getting more expensive. We are trying to reduce the amount of paper we're using, cutting back on our printing, but the cost of paper is going up and the supply chain has slowed down. Equipment, I'm keeping the same. One of the reasons for that is that we've received a grant for $75,000. So some of that money will be purchasing equipment for teen services. So a little bit of that would cover some of like the computers we might replace in the teen area. So we kept it flat. So if there is some inflation in some of our purchasing, it should be okay since we're going to be purchasing new teen computers through the grant. Materials, I increased just slightly at 1%. I don't foresee us purchasing more physical books in the next year, probably just slightly less, because we are doing more electronic content. So we are in the way of like CD audio books and things. We are circulating those a little less because we're putting a little bit more money into the virtual collections, and we're seeing good circulation in those areas. So we put in just enough to cover increases to databases. So inevitably every year the New York Times goes out, Ancestry goes out, things like that. And those are databases that are expected of us by the community and heavily used.
Do you think 1% is enough?
I do.
Are you comfortable?
So I've been keeping track of year by year increases, and 1% should cover it because it's 1% of the overall budget, but we're only expecting increases in a few areas. We're not doing 1% to each subcategory, so 1% should cover it. Education, I'm keeping the same. We do anticipate more staff training in the next year. However, any training that is related to teens will come out of the grant instead of our budget. Contracts I have increased. Let me just go over the contracts. And you can see why. So we are anticipating some increases to our Xerox lease. That is up this year. So we are looking into new contracts. But so far right now, we are seeing a slight increase with whatever contract we select. So they're all small increases. It comes down to about $49,000. We added a little extra because we don't know how substantial some of these other categories are. So the ones that we were not sure about, we kept flat, but we do anticipate increases. And some of these services are new to us this year because they were purchased during COVID. So we don't have a history for how they increase over time. And telephonic kept the same. We only saw a slight difference year to year by a couple dollars a month in the Frontier bill. Broadview tends to be just a little over or a little under 400, so we feel safe leaving that as is. And we have not seen an increase in the last couple of years to digital back office, which is one fee annually, and that's for our online storage. And dues, we put a slight increase in because during COVID, no increases were made to dues. So we anticipate these organizations putting in an increase this year since they haven't done it last year.
You're talking about a very small amount.
But there's only a couple organizations. So we don't, so
Am I misinterpreting your, is that $8?
So it's $25 extra, and we anticipate just CL,
Oh, I see, from
Yeah.
0 to 1.5%.
Yeah, so it's nothing
$25,
substantial.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about, I figure there'll be a slight bump, but nothing dramatic. But I think $25 is enough, and it goes over a little bit, we'll be okay. Any questions?
Comparing to last year, I don't see a major anything.
No.
Well, last year we did zero,
Well,
so there is an increase. We are,
there
the
is a
overall
slight
is 1%,
increase, but not
right?
a
Yes,
big
overall it's
increase.
1%.
Yeah.
A little more than 1%, or?
It's 1.02.
1.02, yeah, a little more. I think it's fine.
But we really didn't know how bad it would be last year at this time because it was just starting, I think. So,
No, we were well in the throes of it.
Yeah, we were.
We had about
We
6
were.
months.
We were
before
close
that.
to the,
Yeah.
time is very,
May I ask a favor, please? May I ask a favor, please? Can we have one person talk at a time? I hear Mary, I hear Connie, I hear Megan. I can't follow what the conversation is. I'm sorry.
I also think, Tia, you're experiencing a delay.
Probably.
You might be getting more content coming through at once. Because I
That
know
could-
on my device, the Wi-Fi, I'm getting a little bit of a delay.
I did hear Connie starting to say that at this point last year, we didn't really know what was going to happen. So, and that was as much as I heard.
So we simply stated that there's a little bit of a discrepancy in time. Last year, when we started this, the library was closed to the public. So we had an idea of where our services were at, but last year at this time, we didn't know where we would be come the following year. Although by the time this fiscal year started, the library was back open, both floors were accessible, and we were offering the majority of our services by the time July 2021 hit.
So Connie, does that answer your question, or does that eliminate your concern, or?
yeah, I was just pointing out that I think that what the budget is very good, considering that, we didn't increase it a lot over last year, and they had to keep it low since a lot of activities weren't going on because of COVID.
Right.
So, Megan, just a quick question. What percentage is salaries for the overall budget? About the same as last year?
Let's see, so let me calculate, oh wait, I'm in the wrong category. All right, so last year's percentages. Oh, because I'm not in the actual.
No, you're just showing, yeah.
Okay. Hello. Hey, good afternoon, how are you?
Hi, Chris.
It's 678 divided by the 894, which should be,
Yeah, just have to, it's 1%. No, that's not right.
No, that's this year.
you've got
Mary
68
is
by
asking
678.
last year's percentage of the budget versus this
Oh,
year's
okay,
percentage. of the
all right.
budget.
So we have
Last
to
year,
do-
the percentage was 76%.
And that's what it should be. It should be a little under 80%, if I'm not mistaken.
So pretty well in the same ballpark.
So 0.76 was last year, and
That's
then
very
this
good,
one.
Mary.
It's very good.
Well, I remember arguing, I remember.
Oh, because I have to, sorry, it's in money right now, I have to.
Megan, you can tell me.
It's one
tomorrow.
Well, no.
So this 2021 salary, 678,
Summary, it's like that, right? This is the summary that went with this, so
That
the.
was and
that was
21, 22, 678, 503.
So it was 1.31, so that'd be 79%.
So now it's 0.7, it's the same as last year.
Yeah.
76%.
76%,
Yeah.
okay, because one of our goals was to not have salaries be anything bigger in our overall budget.
Yep.
We said that back in 2017.
With a match.
So, yep, same,
Okay, so we're in the ballpark, so we're okay.
yes.
Can't say that. Should I make a motion to accept it? Or
I just-
are we,
Hold on. Chris, you just joined us, right?
Correct.
Okay, so do you have any questions about the budget or any of the line items?
Yeah, I took a look at the thing. It seems pretty good. The only one that really has an increase significant is the salaries, which seems to make sense.
And you read through the narrative to understand what we had done last year with salaries and what we're doing this year, correct?
and then Megan just figured out that it's the same percentage as last year.
No.
So it's still 76% of the budget,
Mhm.
even though it's increased.
The salaries haven't.
Okay, so I am of the old school, and I just have to throw this on the table, okay? Just, you know, been around too long. We have nothing here if they decide to cut us, that we have, won't really, really affect us. I'm always thinking, put a little something in so that if it goes, we can live with it. But I know you don't agree with me, Megan, and that's okay. That's why I'm throwing it out on the table.
Well, last year I was surprised because I thought also the same way, but they were so happy that you didn't give them a big increase. They accepted
And we
everything.
had no increase last year, so
Yeah.
that was pretty hard to cut, no increase.
Well, they still could have cut it if they wanted to.
So let me just explain my logic quick, because
Yeah, okay.
I mentioned it to Tia and to Mary, but my feeling is that it is a new finance committee this year. They're most likely gonna have more questions than previous years. And I want to be able to tie each dollar to a specific bill. That way they understand if they cut $10,000, this is the service they are eliminating.
Mhm.
So my hope is that, because the one question that has been asked in the past by members of the board currently are what services will disappear with this cut? So I do think, like Tia, it's important that we, in advance of that meeting, decide what would be cut if they cut our budget.
Mhm.
So that way when they
So
make
we're
that motion.
proactive.
Yes, and that's why I feel we don't want to cushion it, because we don't want to be scrambling, sitting there saying, okay, what would we eliminate if they cut $10,000? And I also think this sets precedent for the next couple of years on the finance committee as to how we present. If we present a budget that's asking only for what we need, then in the future, I believe that will help us because they know we're making a legitimate request. But that's just my feeling on the matter.
Well, I wouldn't bring up the potential cut unless they specifically asked.
Oh,
of course
we
not.
never,
No,
in fact, we never do that.
No, the only
And you can
reason
also,
that it works to our disadvantage is because we're a bottom line budget. If we weren't, if we were like every other department, I would say this was fantastic.
Yeah.
But they just say, oh, oh, $800,000, whatever we are. So we cut 5,000. You just take it wherever you want.
are you mentioning that you're getting that grant?
Well, we'll have
That's
that,
why-
that will be public.
That's why it's not an increase, is because of the grant.
Well, we're gonna clarify right off the bat. The grant is not doing anything that that the budget covers.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
we don't buy furniture for the library with tax dollars.
Hmm.
We don't purchase equipment for the project lab with tax dollars. The only way we are able to provide these types of things to the public is through grants.
Mhm.
So that grant money can't substitute something in this.
Right.
The same way, programming, the town doesn't pay for teen programs. We almost never take programming money from the budget for teen services.
And that's gotta be said.
And we will, that will be covered.
Perfect.
Now, if they ask what will be cut, there's a couple of ways to slice that. One way to slice it is say, we're gonna lose some of the children's programs. The other way to slice it is say, well, we won't mow the lawn as much.
Well, see,
The town pays for it.
Oh,
yeah, our
The point
budget,
is that
But Chris's
if
point
you're
has
gonna
to be
cut
something
it,
that hurts.
Yeah.
well,
You
but
wanna
that's,
so it
and
hurts.
that's why then we would pick services that impact their collective.
Families.
So, like things that, and we would cut things that are also too, that are expensive. Especially the more they take, the more we have to cut. There are certain services we have to provide. And then there are the luxuries that our community has grown to depend on. There's not a lot in this budget that's luxury for us. In fact, there's really very little in this budget that's luxury.
Well, I guess that's where my concern is.
Well, I think that's
That if
why.
they just say, because we've seen it in the past, Megan, when they just say, $5,000, everybody has to take a little cut, you decide where. You're lucky you can decide where.
Well, the
They
last,
can't do that to some of the other
the
departments.
last few years, it's been the selectmen.
Yeah, well, yeah, it can be just as dangerous.
So I think that when we go in for the finance meeting, we have to spell out line by line. And we are lucky because Brad does understand our budget from last year. So he is very easily able to articulate our needs. So Brad and I have discussed the budget, he understands what we're looking to do. So I do feel very comfortable that we have a couple allies who are willing to advocate for us along the way.
Okay,
The concern that I have is that, and I talked to Megan about this when we reviewed the budget before this meeting, was that we have some new board, we have some new Board of Finance people, and I don't know what their approach is going to be to reviewing the budget and asking questions and that kind of thing. So, potentially we need to be prepared to be able to educate them as to what all is covered in this budget and what is not covered in this budget. Because like what Chris was saying, I think a lot of times people think that we pay for all the maintenance on the building and all of the landscaping and everything else, which we do not. That is covered by the town. So, we may have to do some of that educating to the new members. We also have a new person on the Selectmen's Committee who has in the past been very positive and supporting the library, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the same thing going forward. So we do have a different climate and a different composition of the different boards that we have to present before. So I hear what you're saying, Mary. I think that there's going to be a message that, well, I think the message has gone out to the different departments to really keep their budgets very conservative and very and not have a lot of extra or a lot of increase. For us, the majority, as it's always been, over a little over three quarters of our budget is our people. And without our people, we don't have a library. And the services that we provide are ancillary, but without the people to run it, we can't function. So.
The other thing is that in presentation to the board, you've done those wonderful programs that they can see what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And I think you've made a headway that way with educating them as to what goes on here. And I think they have an understanding.
and they've been supportive.
And as a result of that, they know what's going on.
Yeah, and we will continue to do that.
And that's a great program.
Tell them what we do.
Well, if they push back at all, like on the salaries, you could say this is 2.5% increase. Inflation is twice that. So they're actually worse off than they were last year.
Right.
So this is really bare bones here.
That's a good point.
There is no
And there is one other thing too, and I think if push comes to shove, we have to mention this, is the town has a luxury, we do not. They have a separate account line for salary increases. So when they don't know what those salary increases are going to be, they can put down a zero budget if they want, or a projected, because they know they can rely on that contingency fund to cover salary increases. So it doesn't hit their budget the same way it does for us. We don't have a fund balance we can really not rely on. We don't touch the town's budget when it comes to salaries. So we have to be prepared for union negotiations. We can't go in with the idea that we'll be able to get that money from somewhere else later on.
To Mary's point, does it make more sense to go for, say, 3.5% for salaries and say, okay, we'll settle for 2.5% if we push?
My concern is in the past, we've seen if we've asked for too much, they cut more.
Yeah.
I'm afraid if we ask for 3.5% salaries, that will look greedy on our part, and they'll be more inclined to cut than if we ask for something that's more comparable with what the town is negotiating. We could ask for more in another category. You know, if we wanted to increase databases, we could certainly look to add more databases. And then if they cut it, then we can say, well, we would just not purchase these databases or add the contracts to our account in the next year. That would be a more realistic place to do increases, would be in contracts or materials, because those we could at least justify the expense of. So let's say we moved to a 2% increase in materials. I just want to color code the changes I made so I know the changes on back. So that would be 128. Is that really still a 1% increase?
It's like 1,200, I think. It's about $1,200, so it's still not a huge amount.
We wouldn't even like an eye at that, right?
So we can bump materials up to 2.5. Exactly. That's the 1.2. 2.6. Now let's say contracts got bumped up. I'm sorry, since it's in Zoom, it doesn't go slower.
Mhm.
I see that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I mean, I'm not making a
It's
real
not-
dent,
It's not gonna even touch anything.
so. Do you want me to bump up salaries to 3%? Show you what that looks
Well,
like.
what are they doing in the town?
You can always justify the salaries because you can always say it's a lot less than inflation, so they're still going backwards here. You don't want to lose people.
Well, also we have contracts, so, you know,
Yeah, you don't know what the increase in the contract is gonna be, right?
right. So you're right, Chris, it's a designated amount.
Okay, so 3% puts us to 698,858. So add that in, we're at a 1.03% increase now.
So that's only goes up 0.3,
Yeah,
so why not go for it? You're not comfortable with it, Megan? Please
No,
be honest.
I'm comfortable with one. I want to stay around 1%. I'm checking my math. I'm just surprised it's so low.
yeah,
But you're only talking about
but it's only another percentage, you went from
$10,000.
76 to 77, so that makes sense.
I am comfortable requesting 3%. I think it creates a cushion because there's a good chance that they're gonna push for 2.75.
Right.
Or even 3%.
And with that
in
3%, is that one
negotiation.
person? Is that, like if they say that $10,000,
That's half a percent.
that's half a person, yeah.
The minimum wage is going up by $1, so I am a little concerned in union negotiations that they're gonna negotiate for much higher salaries for the fact that we're getting, our salaries are getting closer and closer to minimum wage with
Mhm.
each year the minimum wage
Correct.
increases. So I can certainly bump this up.
Well, you can bump it up because you can say we don't know the union increase and we have to budget for it.
Well, Megan, we certainly have the arguments to do that.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about 1.3 instead of 1.2 for a budget, I think we should go for it personally.
So we show you one more change. If we we go to 3.5%. We're looking at
Still 77%. That's
We're
good.
looking at a 1.3% change. So, all right, so what I guess I would ask is, if you want to go line by line deciding what to keep, or do you want to pick a percentage for salaries?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what the discussion is because there were so many people talking. I really couldn't distinguish. Are we still back at, we want 1.5 as the budget increase?
So right now, I've bumped up salaries to 3.5.
Right,
That
and that got us to a
does
one.
nothing to our percentage change. We're still at 1.3. I've
Right.
also bumped 1.03. 1.03. thank you. I've also bumped up materials to 2.5%, and I've bumped up contracts to 2.5%. Those have all been included in the running total now, and we are still at 1.03%.
Right, so my question is, what is the discussion going on? Excuse me,
Over the top.
I'm sorry, guys, I can't understand what the discussion is. Is it that you wanted to go to 1.5?
No, we wanted to go to 3.5 salary.
We're talking about salaries
I'm
here.
not asking that, Sue. I'm asking for the total budget. What is the discussion going on
Yeah,
here?
the discussion was about salaries at 3.5%.
What would it change overall percent?
I got that. What is the next set of discussions? Are we happy with the 1.03 or
That
not?
was the question I asked that I'm
Right.
waiting for an answer on. We haven't,
Okay.
so now let's open up the floor. Is everybody content at the 3.5% of salaries?
And what was the figure on that? You gave it to us for 3%, but you didn't give it to us.
3.5% is 702,250.61.
I mean, I have to say, from my perspective, I think we're being very conservative about the budget increase. We're taking care of our people. We have anticipated some increases in other aspects of our operational budget. I think that we're showing that that we're being fiscally conscientious. I I I don't know what the appetite is going to be for increases. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if anyone else has heard anything from different committees as to where or different discussions that they've seen or participated in to talk about what people are thinking about with the upcoming budgets this next year.
I've not heard anything to you.
Yeah. So is everybody comfortable with the 3.5 on the salary increase, leaving, making the changes that Megan made in those two categories, and with the budget, total budget increase of 1.03 at the $922,887.36. Are we comfortable with that or not?
Yes.
I need permission.
So, do we want to make a motion? I'm sorry, was there a discussion? Okay, so do we want to make a motion to accept the budget at that $922,887.36, which is a 1.03% increase over the last year's budget? Do I have a motion?
I can make the motion.
Okay, thank you, Sue. A second, please. Did we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Linda. All right, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, let me see, back to, let me see, with the agenda. Oh, shit. Okay, so, we have a budget. We will bring that budget to our next board meeting and, for people's review. And then I think we vote on it in the December meeting, am I correct?
Yes.
Send it in November and we vote on it in December, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so, okay. Any further conversations or anything? I will also, just so you all know, if we have no other further discussions about the board, I'm sorry, about the budget, then I just wanted to bring up that at the board meeting, I will also be submitting a way of our paying for the replacement bistro tables.
Do you mind if we wrap up the meeting for this budget first? That way I can bring the camera into the program.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Megan.
Tia, can we end the meeting? And then you can bring it up after, just because it's not relevant to the agenda and I have to get the camera to the program.
All right. Okay, do I have motion to adjourn the meeting?
Bill Morgan made a motion.
Okay,
Tommy
second,
seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, just as
Just
an,
make it a little awkward, you're gonna go off camera. Let me just stop the meeting.
I'm sorry, I missed that totally.
Give me one moment.